In the last video, we had some problems with the logout, and after doing some research, it turns out that the example that was provided doesn't actually get you to what you need to do. You actually have to have a little bit more information. So the original function had just these values, but it turns out that the Google API doesn't actually initialize automatically right off the bat. So we actually have to wrap it in a couple of other functions unless we've already authorized and we've already initialized things. So we actually start off with this Google API load, and we're going to load this auth2, which is going to then allow us to call this function when we're all done. So once that's loaded, we're then going to call this inner function that is going to allow us to initialize. And once that's done, then we're going to actually execute this last function, which is going to allow us to retrieve this instance and then sign us out. So once we do that, we're going to then set the document to a new location. We're going to send it to this particular do logout, which we'll add right now. So let's go ahead into our main.py, and we'll scroll down to where we had our auth code, and we'll go ahead and put another app route here. And this one is going to be our do logout. And we'll go ahead and define a function here. And basically the only thing we need to do in our do logout is clear out this Flask session value. So what we will do is just the opposite of when we actually saved this. We're going to take this Flask session, the user key, and we're going to set this equal to none. So we're just going to remove that from our session. And now that we've done that, we can actually just return a quick redirect to the home page, or we can call another function. So here we can return our main page. We can go directly to root. So we could just return root like this, but the problem is that now we'll be on this page do logout, so it's going to kind of be a weird URL. So probably the right thing to do here is return a Flask redirect to the root of our application. So now when we actually perform our logout and our login, let's go ahead and deploy this, gcloud app deploy. Oh, we need to go into the right folder. There we go. Gcloud app deploy. Here we go. We're going to get prompted. We're going to go ahead and deploy this. So basically our path now will be this. Clicking the link will sign us out, and it'll kind of go through the process of loading the API, setting everything up, and then removing the user's authentication. And once we do that, we're going to come back to our main page here, which is just going to clear out our session value and then redirect the user back to the back home. So this redirect is actually going to go directly back to the browser. The browser is going to receive this, and it's going to be this the root of the application, which means that the user's browser is going to now make another request to this function right here. So the reason again that we took this approach is that this way we actually send the user's browser is going to identify that they're at the root of the application, not at the at this do logout URL. So it looks like we've got everything loaded. Let's go ahead and create a new instance here, cs1520 appspot.com. We're going to open our browser, and we go home, or we go to logout, and if we can check our JavaScript console here, and we can see it's signing our user out. Unfortunately, it looks like it didn't actually pick up our new code here because we changed that console log. So let's go ahead and take a look at the file here, static appcode.js. Yeah, so it looks like this is actually not updated, and if I refresh this a few times, I can see that actually didn't come through. So let's go ahead and deploy it again. Sometimes we need to actually make sure that there's a change and that it's seeing the change so that it picks up this new file. The other thing that might be happening here, if we go to our console, we can make sure that the version is updated. So if we take a look at our versions, so we're going to open the Cloud Console and go down to App Engine versions. So you can see we're serving this one. It looks like the latest version here, so let's go ahead and delete these old versions. We don't need them around anymore. We're just experimenting anyway. So it looks like we're still going to have this old version based on, so that's still logging to the console. And this is really what we want. So we will go ahead and deploy again. execute our prompt, and then this should update our service. And it's a good rule of thumb to to check your files and make sure that they're actually serving the way you like. Another thing that we can do, if this doesn't take, you can always clear your browser's cache. You can do a lot of different things. But another really simple way to kind of force the change is we could go in and change this to the name of this file to say appcode1.js, and then just change it right here as well, and that way it's a whole different file. It's got a whole different name, and there will be no caches left to kind of pick that up from either the Google side, the App Engine side, the CDN side, or the browser side. So caching can kind of hit you in a couple of different places. So hopefully we'll get around it this time. Let's go ahead and check our file. So it looks like it's still not picking this up. Let's refresh and make sure our version is updated. And we can always check to see the individual versions. You can actually click on the link there, and it'll open up the individual version for you. So yeah, we have this. It looks like this is the main version, and it's not updated yet. So we can actually force this change. Let's go ahead and change this to app code. We'll call it 1, and we will rename this file. We'll call this app code 1 and hit OK. And now when we save it, we should be able to deploy, and there we go. We got that one file uploaded. And when we're all done, we should see a file here now called static appcode1.js. And as soon as this loads, it should come up. But it's a nice little trick to kind of, there was no appcode1.js file in existence a few minutes ago, so there was nothing that could possibly be cached. And that's an easy way to kind of get around any caching issues you might run into. So once this uploads and updates the service, we can take a look. There we go. We refresh our page so we can see that this is here. So it looks like our App Engine application is updated. So if we go to our 1520 app spot and we hit logout, this is going to remove our cookie. It's going to remove the remove the user from our session. We can log in now. We can sign in. We can pick our user. Everything's working fine. There we go. Thanks for watching this one, and in the next video we'll get into some data modeling and some storage and some working with the cloud data store.